I'm just as surprised as you to be making this video. Phantasmal Flames only has 94 cards, so I made an ass out of you and me and assumed I'd forego my usual road decks video, shoehorn Paldean Tauros into the new decks video, and call it a day. But then I looked at the set list again and was reminded how disappointing the whole thing is. When I overcame my sadness though, I realized there's enough candidates to fill this video. And we all know how much I enjoy filling things, especially when I can make money doing it. Sure, I might be stretching the definition of what a road deck is, but it's like the rules of time travel in any movie. Try not to think about it too much and just enjoy the ride. Of course, we start with a load of bull. If a road deck is something that can win 10% of the time, taking hilarious victories against some of the top decks, Paldean Tauros completely fits that bill. For a single fighting energy, Paldean Tauros does 40 damage times the number of Pokemon you have in play with Tauros in their name that have a damage counter on them. Essentially, have any combination of 6 damage Tauros down, that's 240 damage for 1 energy on a single prize basic. What's great is that the deck basically builds itself. Your Tauros need damage on them, which is exactly what Risky Ruins was made for. Plus, Paldean Tauros is a fighting type. Premium Power Pro boosts its damage by 30 and it stacks. So too does Brave Bangle, which is a tool that adds 30 extra damage against EXs. Throw all these together and the Wild Bull can clear 300 damage. Unfortunately, there's some obvious downsides. For starters, what do you do if Risky Ruins and Secret Box are evading you? Well, that's where Emolga comes in. This puts 10 damage on everybody for 1 energy. Except Emolga takes up a bench space, now capping you at 5 Tauros in play. And you can't really run any support Pokemon like Pheasantipity or Squawkabilly, so you're dependent on a good starting hand. Or I guess you can put a Tatsugiri in the deck acting as a Pokegear every turn. But again, that'll only leave you a space for 5 Tauros, not 6. You also have 0 room for Battle Coliseum because you want your Pokemon to be damaged by Risky Ruins. But against Dragapult or Monkey Dory, they can wear down your bulls. Just like how I wore down my first ex-wife to go on a date with me because I was born in 1969 and back then you could pester a woman until she finally lost all hope and gave up and decided nothing bad can happen, it can only good happen. The same applies for Psyduck and Shaman. It's Tauros all day with room for maybe Emolga or Tatsugiri to avoid a sticky situation. If you watch my Team Rocket's Wheezing gameplay video, this is basically that except with a basic instead of a stage 1. And everyone has to be damaged. Provided everything goes right, you could one-shot something like Mega Latias EX turn 1 going second, take 3 prizes, and force a concede. And if that thought doesn't make your toes curl with glee, I don't know what will. Ultimately, there's no real spice here aside from Emolga and Team Rocket's Venture Bomb to hopefully damage your own Pokemon if Risky Ruins proves to be too risky. Overall, Tauros just seems really solid and like a great beginner deck for new players who want to try something different. Other options for Paldean Tauros include Petrol. You need Risky Ruins to succeed. Petrol gets it at the cost of wasting your supporter for turn solely on a stadium. I also don't think a copy of Pheasantipity is the craziest idea. Best case scenario, they're KOing a bull every turn, meaning Fez to draw you like 15 cards a game if they can't target it. And finally, Legacy Energy to potentially extend the game another turn. But if you go for Legacy Energy, it means Secret Box isn't your ace spec anymore, and that can find Risky Ruins. In terms of matchups, any multi-prizers with low HP or who are weak to fighting get run over by the bull. Tauros doesn't even need any damage modifiers to one-shot Raging Bolt, while Golden Doe and Ceruledge only require a Brave Bangle or 1 orange Gatorade, provided you have 6 damage Tauros in play. The tougher matchups will be higher HP multi-prizers like Gardevoir and Dragapult, who also run supplementary damagers like Monkey Dory and Dusknoir. Grimmsnarl would have been fine if the damn thing was weak to fighting, but it's part fairy type in the game, so that's ruined. Regardless, Tauros is shaping up to be the best new road deck in Phantasmal Flames, and I can't wait to drop to the 1300s in Master League playing it. In addition to Mega Lopunny EX, the biggest surprise from Phantasmal Flames is Moltres. If it's hitting into an EX, it does 110 damage for 1 fire. Against any deck running Teal Mask Ogerpon, they're shrewd. Attach a Brave Bangle, you destroy Golden Doe all day. You could be smart and just pair Moltres with Typhlosion and make arguably the second best single prize deck even better. Or you could play Pokemon cards on hard mode and try it with the new Ceruledge. This guy does 220 damage for a single fire, though you do have to discard 4 fire from hand in the process. The benefits over Typhlosion is that it's a stage 1, not a stage 2, and it won't get screwed over by Prize and Ethan's Adventure. The downside is that it does 60 less damage and requires that discard of 4 every turn. Essentially, it's faster and weaker, sort of like me when I stopped being a fitness model and decided to become a marathon runner. There's 2 ways to go about baby Ceruledge. Either with low counts of energy and lots of recovery, or high counts of energy and a copy of the EX for major damage. The first build is low energy, high recovery, featuring Moltres, Victini, and Brave Bangle. Moltres can one-shot a pesky Badoo and soften up higher HP EXs. Victini boosts Ceruledge's damage by 10, allowing it to one-shot Raging Bolt if both are down. Though you could cut them for more Brave Bangle if you wanted. From there, it's just about getting 4 Fire Energy in hand every turn. Revavroom draws cards, Pheasantipity draws more cards, and Superior Energy Retrieval and Max Rod recycle energy. Keeping in mind that this is a Trust Your Pilot special since no one in Japan's done anything with Ceruledge yet, here's my first draft list. Upon first glance, it doesn't seem terrible. I probably won't play with my Rod nearly as much in the final draft because more Gust seems helpful. And Blood Moon Ursaluna EX might be a great closer as it always is. But it has everything it needs to trade back and forth with multi-prize decks, which is all you can ask for from a road deck. Otherwise, you can overload the deck with energy and add the EX Ceruledge. With 18 total energy, it gives you an insane late-game closer to deal with Stage 2s and Megas. Since I'm trying to focus on the baby Ceruledge first, there's still lots of recovery. Of course, you could just play the EX with one baby Ceruledge, but then it would be a good deck, not a road deck. Other options don't include Lana's Aid because that's only a recovery of 3. You could always chuck a copy of the Special Energy discarding Ceruledge though to really piss off Dragapult players who think they're so smug. And of course, Psyduck and Battle Coliseum are never bad ideas for single prize decks. But no matter how you slice it, Ceruledge just seems like a worse Typhlosion. I don't want to feature this any more than you want to see it, but Mega Heracross EX can maybe win 10 games out of 100. Though if you try to play 100 games with Mega Heracross, you'll be committed to an insane asylum well before getting to 69. Destroyed by every fire deck as well as any deck like Golden Go or Raging Bolt without a damage cap, Mega Heracross's whole shtick is surviving and, well, not thriving afterwards. I mean, the stupid thing relies on your opponent not knowing how to read in order to win. But if it survives, your chances of winning do increase. The cleft key to the deck is Ludicolo. Or I guess R Ludicolo because you play 2. There's the new one that heals 60 damage each turn provided you have a Grass-type Mega EX in play, which Heracross is. Then there's the old one that gives all your Pokemon 40 extra hit points. Throw Hero's Cape into the mix, Heracross has 420 hit points. In addition to Ludicolo, you also play the Jumbo Ice Cream Cone, which heals 80 damage from anybody with 3 or more energy attached. To get that energy on Heracross, you use Ogerpon's ability plus Energy Switch. But this begs the question, who's hornier, me or Mega Heracross? Also, is the card even good? The answer is no, not really. For 3 grass, Mountain Thrust deals 170 damage and mills 2. If the game goes as long as you hope, that's not bad. Except if you're going to win, Panzerhorn will need to do the thing. For 2 grass, it does 100 base damage. But however much damage Heracross received last turn is added to the attack. Obviously, someone with math skills or common sense will soften it up first with a weaker attack, then go for the KO. Which is why healing is so important. Heracross needs to survive more than 1 turn. Though that's easier said than done when Dragapult survives you getting horny. And Munkidori and Drifloon give Gardevoir a way to take one-shots. Still, the more I look at this list, the more I think it's actually somewhat viable. My final list might opt for 1 less grass and 1 more energy switch, but this is a great starting off point. Just keep in mind that you can't use Forest of Vitality to evolve Lombre into the Water Ludicolo since the forest is solely reserved for grass types. Other options for Mega Heracross are exactly what you think they are. You could cut the Ogerpon out completely, reduce the energy, and just play Meganium as another Stage 2 grass type alongside Ludicolo. This way you only need a single attachment on Heracross to get horny. And since you already have the baby Toedscruel in the list, why not add the EX Toedscruel to your Ogerpon build? Or just go with Mist Energy to prevent any Munkidori confusion or Roaring Moon shenanigans. I'll be testing both lists after Phantasmal Flames is out on November 13th, so make sure you're subscribed to watch how terribly it all goes. Ever since I saw Seviper, I knew this was a great card. I mean, read it. 240 damage on a basic for 3 energy, that's nuts. Even when the translation was corrected to needing a Mega Evolution Pokemon EX to deal that 240, my belief never wavered. It just means you have to run it with either Absol, Sharpedo, or Gengar. Absol's always a risk due to its lower HP, but the basicness of it does mean you won't get screwed by missing an evolution. Sharpedo meanwhile is a good backup attacker while Gengar can deny prizes. Whoever you choose, Seviper is the focus here. As opposed to other Mega Dart decks where it's merely a one-of used to take a 2-prize KO from time to time. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but Seviper actually hits harder than Absol and Gengar and only 30 less than Sharknado. Thanks to Toxtricity, getting Seviper powered up is easier than emptying out a Pokemon card vending machine at Target when there's a huge lineup of crying kids behind you. Use its ability, Accelerated Darkness Energy to a bench Dart type Pokemon at the cost of putting 2 damage counters on it. You'll want 3 Toxtricity in play at all times if you can, though 2 plus a manual attachment works. While Punk Helmet, which is Rocky Helmet times 2, and Brave Bangle are always decent options for increased damage, Binding Mochi plus Petrunt EX is the way to go. This means you don't have to worry about Air Balloon in your list, and corner decks are rendered useless. For the list you'll find in the description, I started to run out of room surprisingly quickly, so I ultimately went with Mega Absol since it requires the least amount of effort to get in play. Gengar is obviously the best option because of its ability, but Absol pairs perfectly with Munkidori, meaning you can one-shot anything after monkeying around twice. Just always remember that Munkidori is a Psychic type, so Toxtricity can't accelerate to it. I opted for Precious Trolley as the A-Spec, meaning you can go Arven turn 1 for Trolley and TM Evolution, then have multiple Toxtricity up early. Since this is another Trust Your Pilot special, I'll have to test it out to learn if 10 energy is too much and if Night Stretcher is better than Super Rod. My thinking is that we'll lose 3 energy whenever Seviper's KO'd, so being able to put 2 back plus the Snake is optimal. You also have Pecharunt as a late game 300 damage attacker for 2 energy, Munkidori to pick off little threats, and Absol for big threats and potential hand discard shenanigans. Or if you really want to go crazy, attach Crisis Punch to Seviper and deal 400 damage when they have 1 prize left thanks to its ability. Despite my best attempts though, Seviper will mostly end up as a backup attacker in a Mega Dark deck, but I think it has a chance to do something on its own. Like life, it's just about finding the right partner to share your experience with. Okay, so the reason I showed you Seviper first is to compare it to Weavile. Yes, Seviper requires a Mega in play and an extra energy, but the benefit is that Seviper hits for a much better number, is a basic, and has more hit points. With my bias out of the way, Weavile, who is a promo and not in the main set, can deal 190 damage for 2 darkness so long as it has 50 or less hit points. Toxtricity to it twice, the clause is fulfilled. Except in a world full of Munkidori and Dragapult, purposely putting someone down to 50 HP is never a good idea. So Battle Coliseum is a must. Unfortunately, because of the Coliseum, Munkidori is rendered useless. I also wouldn't call you crazy for adding Rabska and Psyduck for when the Coliseum inevitably gets bumped. Looking at the list, getting 2 Toxtricity into play is the only way you stand a chance of winning. So I went with Trolley again plus Arven, hoping for that early TM evolution. Otherwise, it's eerily similar to Seviper minus the Mega and the Monkey. With a Binding Mochi attached, Weavile is dealing 230 damage, which is KOing most 2-prize basics in the game. My issue is that you'll struggle against a lot of evolutionified EXs, especially ones like Dragapult and Gardevoir if they bump Battle Coliseum. A funny combo people pointed out in a recent video is pairing the Water Sneasel with Risky Ruins. This means you can get by with 1 Toxtricity in play plus a manual attachment. There's also the ass-hunting Weavile, who acts as a Lycia's Appeal when it switches into the active, which pairs perfectly with Pecharunt EX. Still, I would rank Weavile lower than Seviper in my assessment of road decks, and as we all know, I'm never wrong. Silly low punny Lokix are for kids. I'm sorry. Anyway, as I've mentioned before, the only thing For the Win loves more than getting a foot rub while watching my streams is a hit and run deck. Lokix has a chance to be a pretty annoying one. Notice how I didn't say good. Part of that is due to Nimble, who may live up to its name and have free retreat at the cost of having just 40 hit points. Or you could get a huge boost to 50 HP by increasing the retreat by 1. Yeah, not great. But everything else leaves me optimistic, like when I ask people to DM me feat picks. Lokix has a 3 energy attack cost, which would suck if not for Ignition energy. The cost fulfilled, now you can easily deal 150 damage every turn, shuffling the Nimble, Lokix, and Ignition back into the deck. Afterwards, simply promote someone like Mimikyu or Crustle who are immune to EX damage, retreat them, and repeat the process all over again. Obviously, Mimikyu makes more sense since it can be air ballooned, whereas Crustle has a 3 retreat cost because it's a beefy boy. In that case, you could always put a Luxurious Cape on Crustle plus a Reversal and turn this into a Lokix plus Crustle deck for maximum annoyance. However, in Japan, this list finished 16th, except it features the Sylveon with the same ability as Mimikyu, Crustle, and Aegislash. At first, I hated it. Then I remembered that Solrock is in every deck, wrecking Mimikyu in the process, so maybe this is a decent idea. But like Capi is stored in the baller, my mind is made up and it's not changing. The easiest jumping off point is Lokix with Force of Vitality, so you can immediately re-evolve into it even if you start the turn with 0 Nimble on the field. At least 3 Ignition Energy is a must. And Mimikyu is still the blocker of choice because they have to run out of Solrock at some point, right? I'm not 100% sold on Colress's Stochasticity though. Yes, it gets Ignition plus Forest, but Hilda searching up Lokix plus Ignition seems like the better option. I freely admit that this list is a bit janky. I'm torn between Crustle and Mimikyu and decided to go for both. Test out this list, which I'll put in the description, and see who performs the best. Because of the crab, there's Reversal Energy in here as well, plus Luxurious Cape to give your single prizers an extra 100 hit points at the cost of giving up a potential extra prize. I also chose Scoop Up Cyclone as the A-Spec of choice to bring up a Pheasantipity or anyone they might try to trap. Though that could be Maximum Belt or Prime Catcher or Secret Box or Precious Trolley. Should you decide to go the Mimikyu route, Latios EX seems like a terrible idea, but it does allow you to attach a cape to Mimikyu and still be able to retreat it. I'd also recommend thinking about adding a tool to boost Lokix's damage since it'll be shuffled into your deck just like the energy. And even handheld fan could be funny, because the whole point of Lokix is to be annoying. And the only thing more annoying than getting a handy from a fan is listening to Trust Your Pilot complain about TCG Live multiple times a week live on Twitch. Finally, we have Bronzong, who revives the tool drop attack every YouTuber tried to make work back in the day with Doublade. The difference between Rotom's Gadget Show and Bronzong is that Rotom only does damage based on the tools attached to your Pokemon. Tool drop counts every tool in play, dealing 40 damage per tool, all for an addition or reversal. Like when I go to the brothel and see two Ghost girls who look disgusted by me, the potential partners are obvious. Rotom EX is a basic that can have 2 tools attached, while Revavroom EX is a stage 1 that can have 4 tools attached. If you go with Rotom, Bravery Charm is a must, except it doesn't help Bronzong. If you go with Revavroom, Rigid Band is a must, which does help Bronzong. Except there's no reason to put it on Bronzong because you want Revavroom to have them all. I think the main issue with Bronzong is that it doesn't really pair perfectly with anybody. Because of the 3 energy attack cost, you have to run Ignition and Reversal. But the Rotom need 2 colorless and are basics, meaning you'd have to include Counter Gain, which Bronzong doesn't need. As for Revavroom, you can't play the baby one because energy is so precious. And since the EX is an EX, it can't use Reversal energy. Anyway, enough doom and gloom. Here's the Rotom version of Bronzong, which seems like it could be fun. You have a full 4/4 Bronzong, 4 Ignition, and 4 Reversal, which you have to be very careful not to lose. 4 Air Balloon gives you a great chance to retreat somebody and Cleffa on turn 1. And multiple Counter Gain allow your Rotom to hit for a Grass, Water, and Fire weakness, helping out against Golden Ghost, Ceruledge, Grimmsnarl, and more. Switching over to Revavroom, you have to be much more careful when it comes to energy. Bronzong's your only attacker unless it's the end of the game and you attach an Ignition to Revavroom EX and use the Spicy Crisis Punch for 280. So Genesect EX becomes super important, able to grab 2 Metal Evolutions from deck. And I know people are yelling at their screen because I haven't done a foot reveal yet. Also, they're yelling because I chose Precious Trolley over Treasure Tracker. Listen, there's 12 real tools in here and you only need 7 in play to hit for 280, not including the boost from Brave Bangle. So long as PTCGL doesn't screw you over, Bronzong should be taking KOs early. But if you don't get set up, it won't. Hence the trolley. Other options for Bronzong include putting a 2/2 line in Archaludon EX, load up the list with tools like Rigid Band, use Archaludon's ability to power up Bronzong, and now you have a good single prize attacker. Whichever direction you decide to go, remember that I'm just the handsome messenger. If it doesn't work, clearly it's PTCGL's fault. Despite only having 94 cards, Phantasmal Flames seems like it can introduce some fun new road decks when it fully arrives on November 13th. Paldean Tauros is shaping up to be the best, while Bronzong can take huge one-hit KOs. I'm ready to be massively disappointed by Seviper though. And Mega Heracross will never be more than a one-off YouTube video I cobbled together after spending 3 hours in agony.